This story is not about adventure. This is the story of a saloon dancer in the Wild West. But through her, you'll see the faces of thousands who were forced to smile through pain and humiliation. On these pages, there is no happy ending, no myths of bravery or love. There is only the harsh truth, the kind you'd rather turn away from. But before you get comfortable, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments which city you're watching from and what time it is there. I'm really curious to see who's joined us tonight. Now, get settled. We're about to begin. You wake up before the sun, though calling it waking up feels generous. In truth, you simply stop pretending to sleep, because sleep here is never whole, never gentle. The mattress beneath you is little more than a board covered with straw, rough enough to leave marks on your skin that last for hours. The sheet, if one is charitable enough to use the word, is thin, gray, and scratchy, carrying the distinct scent of sweat and dust, no matter how often you beat it out. There is a single pillow, flat, lumpy, the fabric patched in two different places, each patch a testament to someone else's bad dreams. The room is barely large enough to hold the bed and a small table whose legs wobble no matter how many times you jam a folded scrap of newspaper underneath. There is a window, but it does not open, and in any case, the view is a wall of another building, built so close that you could reach out and touch it if the glass were not so clouded with grime. Light leaks in only grudgingly, turning the world into a dull gray, every corner heavy with shadows. You lie still for a few moments longer, listening. Below you, the saloon is quiet, though that will not last. Someone is already shuffling around in the kitchen, and you can hear the scrape of boots on the floor, the clatter of a tin pail, a cough that echoes up the stairwell. The air in your room is cold and unmoving. Your breath clouds as you exhale, which is a small mercy, since it masks the other smells, a mixture of last night's whiskey, fried grease, unwashed clothes, and something sharper you try not to name. Eventually, you force yourself upright. There is no time for laziness here, no matter how much your bones ache. Your body is a ledger, every limb and joint a line item in a growing list of debts. You roll your neck, stretch your arms, listen to the soft crack of your back. A small jug of water waits by the door, already gathering a thin crust of ice around the rim. There is no basin, so you pour some water into a battered tin cup, splash your face, and wipe yourself off with the corner of the sheet. The water stings, but it does not wake you up so much as remind you that the day has begun and you are expected to endure it. There is a wooden comb on the table. Half the teeth are broken. You drag it through your hair, tugging out knots that have gathered overnight. A few strands come away in your hand, and you drop them onto the floor without ceremony. You reach for the cake of soap, which is small and hard, worn down almost to nothing. It smells faintly of lye and old flowers, but you use it sparingly, since replacements are expensive and in short supply. You wash what you can reach: face, neck, hands, underarms, and tell yourself it is enough. It has to be. Your dress from the night before hangs over the chair. The color was once bright, perhaps a cheerful red or green, but it has faded into something indecisive, a muddy shade that does not quite match anything. You shake it out, brush off a few specks of dust, and pull it on over your shift. The fabric is thin in places, mended in others, the seams uneven. You have become expert at making it look passable, pinning and tucking, hiding stains with a well placed shawl or ribbon. You have long since stopped caring about style, or what the men downstairs think, or what you see in the cracked mirror on the wall. You sit for a moment and stare at your hands. They are not the hands of a lady. There is dirt under the nails, scars on the knuckles, and your palms are rough and red. Still, you flex your fingers, force them into action, and gather your few belongings into the battered satchel you keep by the bed. In it, a handkerchief, a coin or two, a bent hairpin, a small tin of powder, and a letter from home you have read so often that the paper is nearly translucent. You hear voices now, clearer and closer, drifting up from the stairwell. It is time to begin. You step into your shoes. One has a hole in the sole, the other is missing a lace, and prepare yourself for another day that will be exactly like the one before it. There is no hope for novelty here, no promise of relief. There is only survival in the smallest and most tedious of ways. Before you leave your room, you look out the window. The street below is empty except for a stray dog rooting through a pile of garbage. The sun is not yet up, but the sky is lightening, promising nothing but another day of cold, hunger, and disappointment. You take a breath, cough, and step out into the hall, closing the door behind you with a sound that is more final than you would like to admit. And so begins another morning in the life you did not choose, but have learned, grudgingly, to endure. You walk the creaking hallway, shoes clicking over splintered boards. The cold lingers even as you descend the stairs, clutching the railing for balance, careful not to snag your skirt on a rusty nail sticking out from the wall. You pass doors behind which other girls are waking, or already awake, or perhaps not having slept at all. Someone coughs, a rough and hollow sound, and you wonder if it is Anna or Mary, or someone newer whose name you have not learned and probably never will. Downstairs, the world smells of old tobacco, last night's beer, and the sour remains of sweat and spilled whiskey. The saloon, stripped of its false evening glamour, reveals itself in the harsh gray morning. Sawdust scattered over stains, chairs overturned or broken, tables littered with empty glasses and greasy cards. The piano, centerpiece of every night's forced merriment, stands sullenly in a corner, keys chipped, a few stained with something that is probably not wine. Breakfast, such as it is, waits in the corner of the kitchen, away from the view of any possible early guest. The kitchen is a narrow, ill-lit space where a woman named May presides, her hair pinned up haphazardly, her dress covered with a stained apron that has seen far better decades. She greets you with a glance that manages to convey both commiseration and utter exhaustion. She does not ask how you slept. Everyone already knows. You serve yourself a chunk of yesterday's bread, hard at the edges and dry in the middle, which you break with your hands because there is only one dull knife, and it is being used to chop onions for the midday stew. There is also a tin mug of coffee, black and burnt, the ground swirling at the bottom, tasting of bitterness and something faintly metallic. If you are lucky, there is a scrap of salted pork left from last night's meal. If not, you make do with a watery bean soup, reheated from 2 days before, now thin as dishwater and twice as bland. You eat quickly, standing by the counter. There are no seats in the kitchen for girls like you. May sits, though, because she is older and nobody tells her otherwise. She sighs over her own mug, stares into the steam as if hoping to find answers. A girl named Rose slips in behind you, red eyed and shivering, her hair tangled, her lips split from an argument with a customer or perhaps with the saloon owner himself. She says nothing, and you say nothing back. You just nudge the bread basket closer to her with a flick of your wrist, a silent offering. As you chew, you count the bites. Each mouthful is a reminder that food is not guaranteed. Once, long ago, you had breakfasts of warm porridge and sweet milk, fresh apples and eggs cooked just the way you liked. Now you eat because you must, not because you enjoy it. You ration the coffee, careful not to drink it all at once, because it will need to last you through the morning. A single swallow warms your insides for a moment, then vanishes, leaving you just as empty as before. A noise from the front makes you tense. It is too early for customers, but sometimes the desperate come before the sun, begging for credit or forgiveness or both. The owner's boots echo on the floorboards, sharp, impatient, always looking for someone to blame for his own misfortunes. You keep your head down, shoulders rounded, hoping he will pass you by. He grumbles about the state of the room, about the bread being too hard, about girls who eat more than they earn. He picks at the pork, sneers, and stalks off, leaving behind a cloud of cheap cologne and resentment. Rose tries to smile at you, but her lips crack. You want to tell her it gets better, but you know that it does not. The only certainty here is that tomorrow's breakfast will be just as meager, just as flavorless, just as necessary. You and the others eat not for pleasure, but for the chance to endure another shift, another night, another round of forced smiles and hollow laughter. When the bread is gone, you wipe your hands on your skirt and rinse your cup at the pump. The water is cold and rusty, leaving your fingers stiff and raw. You glance at your reflection in the tarnished pot, a pale ghost, eyes ringed and gray, lips drawn thin. You straighten your back and turn away. There is no time for self-pity. There is only the next task, the next moment of survival. As you leave the kitchen, you notice a stray dog nosing through the back door, ribs showing, fur mangy. For a second, you feel a kinship, a pair of hungry creatures, both scavenging for scraps, both unwanted by the world. You toss the dog a corner of your bread. It snatches the offering and disappears, tail wagging weakly. You envy its freedom, even as you pity its hunger. You step into the hallway, stomach only half full, but body prepared for the day ahead. The sounds of the waking saloon close in around you, chairs dragged back into place, glassware clinking, the low murmur of other girls bracing themselves for what is to come. There is no breakfast bell here, no sense of shared warmth, just another meal survived, another small victory, another day's worth of emptiness to carry with you. You take a breath, shoulders squared, and walk back toward the main room where reality is already waiting to greet you. The taste of dry bread lingers on your tongue, mingling with the bitterness of coffee and the knowledge that this is as good as it gets. You leave the kitchen, brushing crumbs from your skirt as you step back into the half lit gloom of the main room. The saloon is still closed to customers, a rare and fleeting interval when you and the other girls are permitted to exist without smiling, without pretending, without being watched. There is no music yet, no laughter, just the quiet urgency of preparation. The first order of business is always your own appearance. You return to the cramped quarters upstairs, to that small, battered mirror nailed to the wall beside your bed. The glass is warped, the silver backing nearly gone in places, so your reflection appears distorted, features stretched and blurred, like a memory half forgotten. Still, it is all you have. You set out the day's limited tools: the cracked wooden comb, a stub of coal pencil wrapped in paper, a bit of powder that long ago lost its scent, but can still conceal the worst of your pallor. With hands stiff from cold and fatigue, you draw the comb through your hair, untangling knots that multiplied in the night. Every tug pulls more than just hair. It pulls at memories of better mornings when someone else cared if you looked presentable. Today, like every day, the transformation is an exercise in frugality. There is no extra powder for your cheeks, no new ribbon for your hair. The only color you wear comes from a bit of crushed berry juice, dabbed carefully on your lips to simulate health, to simulate youth. The coal pencil is shared among the girls, each one whittling away another sliver with every passing day, until all that is left is a stump too small to grip. You learn to make do with less, to stretch each fragment of luxury as far as it will go. Your dress waits draped over the back of the chair. It is the same one you wore yesterday, and the day before, and perhaps the day before that. It is a patchwork of fading hope, frayed seams, threadbare elbows, the faint outlines of stains you no longer try to scrub out. The color, whatever it once was, has given way to a kind of universal dullness. You smooth the wrinkles with damp palms, pinch the waist tighter with a length of cord, and fasten the buttons with fingers that tremble slightly from the cold. Stockings, if you have them, are full of holes. Shoes are worse. You slip them on and ignore the pinch, the places where your toes poke through. It is a uniform as much as it is a costume, a reminder to yourself and to everyone else that you are not here to be admired, only consumed. There is no point in fussing over jewelry. The only earrings you possess are tin, made to look like silver, their shine long since dulled by sweat and tears. You clip them on anyway, out of habit or superstition, as if they might bring luck. Around your neck, you tie a ribbon, faded blue, frayed at the ends, a relic from another life. Once you might have hummed as you dressed. Now there is only silence, broken by the creak of the floorboards as the other girls move about their own rooms. Through the thin walls, you hear their voices, soft, tired, already preparing the small lies they will tell the customers later, that they are happy, that they are here by choice, that this is the life they wanted. You do not blame them. You will tell the same lies yourself. You pack your meager supplies into the satchel, a rag for wiping sweat, a pin for your hair, a small handkerchief stitched with your initials. The letter from home remains folded in the inner pocket. You do not read it this morning. Some memories are better left undisturbed. There is a knock at the door. Anna's voice, thin and urgent, calls your name. Time to come down. The owner is in a mood, she says, and you know that means hurry. You catch your reflection one last time, tilt your chin, and force your lips into a smile that you practice but never quite believe. Downstairs, the other girls are already gathering by the bar. The owner stands with his arms crossed, scanning each of you as if inspecting livestock. He grunts at your appearance, notes the missing button on your cuff, and says nothing. That is a good sign. You are not the worst today. Someone else, perhaps Rose, will catch his ire. There is work to be done before the doors open. Chairs need righting, tables wiping, glassware sorted. The men who closed the place down last night left behind puddles of beer and broken dreams. With rag and bucket, you set about your task. The water is freezing. The soap makes your hands crack, and no one offers thanks. You scrub because you must, because there is no one else who will do it. From behind the bar, May counts out the coins from last night, her lips moving silently as she tallies the sum. She gives you a look, hard, unreadable, and you wonder if the numbers are as bad as you fear. Sometimes, when the takings are low, the owner invents new rules, new penalties, new reasons to keep back your share. You have learned not to argue. By the time the sun pushes through the dirty front windows, your hands are raw and your back aches. The saloon is ready for business, or as ready as it will ever be. The girls line up near the bar, adjusting hairpins, tugging at skirts, perfecting their tired smiles. You stand among them, neither the prettiest nor the plainest, just another tired face in the morning crowd. In the final moments before opening, you close your eyes and take a deep breath. You summon the persona you have built, the mask you must wear for the next 12 hours. The world outside is waiting, hungry and unkind. You pull yourself upright, paste on your smile and prepare to greet it, because this is your job. This is your life. There are no days off, no holidays, no hope for rescue. There is only the next hour, the next shift, the next endless grinding day. Before the first customer stumbles through the swinging doors, there is dirty work to be done. You and the other girls form a silent, efficient brigade, armed with buckets, rags, and a dull sense of resignation. This is the invisible labor that keeps the saloon breathing, thankless, endless, and as much a part of your daily routine as eating or sleeping. The air is heavy with the smell of old whiskey and stale beer, a fog that clings to every surface, no matter how many times you scrub. Sawdust, scattered thick the night before to soak up blood and vomit, is now caked with filth, turning underfoot to a grimy paste. You grip your broom and begin sweeping, pushing the muck into ragged piles, careful not to breathe too deeply. The dust dances in the morning light, swirling with each sweep, and settles back just as quickly as if mocking your efforts. Under the tables, you find more than crumbs. There are bent playing cards, lost coins, never enough to matter, a torn handkerchief stained with something you hope is wine. There are always surprises, a broken pocket knife, a soggy cigar, the occasional button wrenched from a shirt during last night's fight. Once, you even found a single muddied tooth, which you nudged into the pile with the broom and promptly forgot. At the bar, the glassware is a battlefield. Some glasses are chipped, others sticky with the residue of spirits and spit. You wash them in a chipped porcelain basin, the water quickly turning the color of weak tea. There is no soap to speak of, just a few slivers you save for your own hands. So you rinse and polish each glass with a rag, hoping the morning light will not expose their flaws. The owner passes by, his gaze sharp, and you feel his disappointment at your back even when he does not speak. He expects miracles, cleanliness, speed, perfection, all without the tools to achieve any of them. The floor must be scrubbed, and that is the hardest part. On your knees, you work the stiff brush into the grooves of the warped planks, your skirts gathered out of the way, your back bent into a familiar, punishing curve. The wood is scarred with decades of boots and brawls, blackened where lantern oil once spilled, gouged by stray bullets and drunken tempers. You scrub and scrub, knuckles white, until your hands ache and the bucket water turns thick and brown. Other girls are at work beside you, each lost in her own rhythm. Anna hums under her breath, a tune from some forgotten country. Rose does not speak at all, just glares at the stubborn stains as if she could erase them by sheer force of will. The youngest girl, Molly, tries to lighten the mood with a joke, but it falls flat. You all know there is nothing funny about this part of the day. There is only the scraping of brushes, the slosh of filthy water, and the hope that you finish before the owner finds some imagined fault. When the room is finally swept and scrubbed, you collect the piles of sawdust and debris in a battered tin pan and toss them out the back door. The alley behind the saloon is a graveyard of trash, broken crates, empty bottles, the bones of long dead animals. You wrinkle your nose and hurry back inside, careful not to let the cold morning air steal the last of your warmth. There are always accidents, always small disasters to handle. A chair leg gives way, splintering under your touch. You drag it to the corner and prop it against the wall, knowing it will be returned to the floor by evening, a hazard for some unlucky customer. A puddle of something unidentifiable seeps from beneath the bar, and you mop it up without asking questions. In the far corner, a broken lamp has spilled oil onto the floorboards, leaving a dark, spreading stain that no amount of scrubbing will remove. You throw a fresh layer of sawdust over it and move on. By now, your dress is spattered with dirt and water, your hands red and chapped. You look down and see your reflection in the bucket, a tired face, eyes shadowed, mouth set in a line. There is a kind of dignity in this labor, though no one ever thanks you for it. You tell yourself it is better than the alternative, better to scrub floors than to serve the early drunks, better to work with your hands than with your smile. May, the cook, appears from the kitchen, carrying a tray of dirty dishes from last night. She stacks them by the wash basin, her shoulders sagging beneath the weight. We all do what we must, she mutters, not to anyone in particular. You nod, and she gives you a look of weary understanding before disappearing back into the shadows. Eventually, the room is as clean as it will ever be. The light has grown brighter, revealing every flaw, every scar in the wood, every streak on the windows. The girls gather by the bar, sharing a moment of silent camaraderie, each of you catching your breath before the real work begins. In these quiet minutes, you allow yourself to hope for something easier, something softer. But hope is dangerous here. Hope gets swept out with the sawdust, mopped away with the stains. You push it aside and straighten your back, readying yourself for the first wave of customers who will soon come stomping through the doors, trailing dust and trouble in their wake. You have done your part. You have made the saloon presentable, at least for now. There is no pride in it, only necessity, only another task checked off a never ending list. You wipe your hands on your skirt, smudge another layer of dirt into the fading fabric, and prepare to greet the day. The clock on the wall ticks slow and loud, as if marking the moments of your captivity. Outside, the first weak light of day is filtering through the clouded windows. The saloon doors swing open not with a bang, but with the slow, familiar creak of resignation. It is not even noon, but the first customers arrive anyway, shuffling in with dust on their boots and defeat in their shoulders. They are not the glamorous cowboys from stories, nor the outlaws from wild tales. They are miners, stooped from the weight of the earth and the promise of gold that never materializes. Their faces are streaked with mud, their hands blackened, their eyes wary. You recognize some from the night before and the night before that. A man with a crooked nose who never tips, a pair of brothers who drink in silence, a wrinkled trader whose breath smells of onions and disappointment. You take your place behind the bar, hands folded, back straight as you were taught. The owner's gaze sweeps over you and the other girls, a silent command to be pleasant, to be useful, to pretend. Your lips stretch into a smile that feels foreign, a muscle memory rather than an emotion. You have learned to hold it for hours, no matter what happens. The miners order whiskey, the cheapest available. You pour it with steady hands, counting out the shots in your head. One for him, two for his friend, three for the one who lost his paycheck last night. You wipe the rim of each glass before you set it down, more out of habit than concern. Nobody here is worried about germs. You hand over drinks and watch the coins slide across the counter, careful to tuck your share aside before the owner can skim it. Some customers are already halfway drunk, even at this hour. They speak in low voices, grumbling about the mine boss, the price of beans, the weather that refuses to change. Their words are thick and heavy, pulled down by exhaustion and defeat. You nod in all the right places, laughing politely at jokes that are not funny, commiserating about problems that will never be solved. You are not expected to contribute anything real, just a bit of color in their gray world, a distraction from the endless grind. Not all the customers are so subdued. A group of cattle drovers arrives, boots muddy, eyes bright with the reckless energy of men who have been too long on the trail. They slap coins on the bar, demand stronger drinks, and flirt with you and the other girls in a way that is meant to be charming but feels like a threat. You learn quickly to dodge their hands, to steer the conversation away from anything dangerous, to laugh just enough to keep them from getting angry. You serve drinks, clear away empty glasses, sweep up spilled beer before it soaks into the floor. There are always those who want more than a drink or a dance. You can feel their eyes following you as you work, weighing you against the others, measuring what you might be willing to give for an extra coin or a favor. You learn to read the signs, when to keep your distance, when to disappear into the back room, when to call for May or the owner to intervene. Sometimes it is a look, sometimes a word, sometimes just the way a hand lingers too long on the edge of the bar. You become an expert in avoidance, a master of small escapes. By mid morning, the saloon is noisy with the clatter of glasses and the hum of complaints. The piano sits silent in the corner, waiting for someone to play it back to life. You wish for a moment that the music would start, just to drown out the monotony of voices and footsteps. Instead, you focus on your work, serving, cleaning, counting coins. Each task a way to keep your mind from wandering. Some customers ask your name, but most do not care. To them, you are interchangeable, a moving part in the machinery of their morning. You become adept at fading into the background, stepping forward only when needed, vanishing the instant you are dismissed. There is a freedom in invisibility, but also a loneliness that sits on your shoulders like a second skin. Occasionally, a kind word slips through the gloom. An old trader tips you an extra coin and tells you about his grandchildren back east. A young boy, sent to fetch his father, blushes, and thanks you for a glass of water. These moments are rare, fragile, and gone before you can savor them. More often, you hear only curses, arguments, the sharp edge of impatience in every demand. The owner watches from his perch near the back, eyes always calculating. He notes who drinks, who pays, who causes trouble. He expects you to remember every face, every order, every rule. If you forget, you pay for it later. Money docked from your wages, chores added to your list, a lecture delivered in a voice that carries through thin walls. As the shift drags on, your feet ache, your hands stiffen, and your face settles into its mask. You lose track of time, measuring your life in empty glasses and sticky coins. The sun crawls higher, casting a harsh light through the window and illuminating every flaw, the dirt in the corners, the stains on your dress, the exhaustion etched into your skin. By noon, you have learned again what you already knew, that there is no glamour here, no romance, no escape. There is only the work and the endless parade of men who do not see you, who never will. You brace yourself for the next wave, for the next round of demands, and tell yourself that surviving another hour is, in its own way, a kind of victory. And as the doors swing open once more, you step forward, smile in place, ready to play your part again. You do not have a name to the owner, not really. Even if he uses it, there is always a trace of suspicion in his voice, a sharpness that makes every syllable sound like an accusation. To him, you are one of a set, interchangeable, replaceable, useful only as long as you bring in coins and keep the customers from smashing the place to kindling. You know this, as surely as you know the cracks in the bar's surface or the patterns of mold blooming behind the kitchen door. He is always there, somewhere in the background or perched on his stool, a presence as constant as the creak of the floorboards or the sour smell of spilled whiskey. His eyes roam the saloon, never settling for long, but never missing much. You can feel his gaze on you even when your back is turned. You learn to anticipate his movements, to listen for the familiar click of his boots against wood or the scrape of his ring against the edge of the counter. Some of the girls call him Boss, some use his real name, but most just call him in whispers, the way you speak of a storm when the sky is darkening. He watches how you serve the drinks. He notices if you pour with a steady hand, if you remember who ordered what, if your smile lingers the right amount of time. He marks every fumble, every hesitation, every uncollected coin. When he calls you over, crooking his finger and raising his chin, you know to walk quickly and not ask questions. You stand before him, shoulders back, hands folded in front of your skirt, head slightly lowered, but never so much as to seem weak. His questions are always the same. Did you sweep under the tables? Did you see who broke the lamp last night? Why is this glass sticky? His voice is flat, his words clipped. He never asks about your well-being, never asks if you are hungry, never cares if you limp from a twisted ankle or a bruise you cannot hide. If you answer too slowly, he scowls. If you answer too quickly, he suspects you are lying. You learn to modulate your tone, to be just apologetic enough, just deferential enough, never giving him reason to remember you for the wrong reasons. You have seen him lose his temper, though rarely in front of customers. He waits for the room to clear, for the safe moment when only you and the other girls remain. Then his anger flares. A slammed fist, a raised voice, sometimes the crack of a broom handle against a chair, sometimes worse. You hear stories of what happens to girls who cross him, girls who leave town suddenly, their few belongings left behind in neat piles. No one ever asks where they went. Today, his mood is sour. The morning was slow, the miners stingier than usual, and the drovers too rowdy to spend freely. He blames the girls for this, blames the weather, blames the whiskey. He calls you over and gestures at the spilled beer on the bar. You wipe it up, careful not to splash his sleeve, careful to work quickly and quietly. He sniffs the air and mutters about the smell of failure. You pretend not to hear. You always pretend not to hear. When customers complain, he listens. If someone says his drink was watered down, he looks at you. If a chair collapses, he looks at you. If a man is turned away for being too drunk and starts to shout, he looks at you as if it was your fault for not pacifying him, for not smiling wide enough or softening your voice at the right moment. The rules shift with his mood, and you learn to sense the weather in the set of his shoulders, in the line of his mouth, in the weight of his silence. There is a ledger he keeps behind the bar, locked and guarded. You never see him add to it, but you see him consult it, lips moving as he tallies your debts. Every meal is recorded, every broken dish, every lost coin, every smudge on a tablecloth. It is all written down, and when payday comes, you receive only what is left after your expenses. It is never enough. It is not meant to be. Sometimes you catch him watching you as you dance. His face is unreadable, his eyes small and calculating. You wonder what he sees. A girl trying her best to please, or just another pair of feet on a floor he owns, another mouth to feed grudgingly. You never find out because you never ask. It would not change anything. You dream, sometimes, of telling him what you really think, of shouting back, of smashing a glass, of refusing to scrub the floor or serve another drink. But you know where that path leads. Down the stairs, out into the cold, your place filled before the next sundown. There are always more girls looking for work, always more mouths to feed, always someone more desperate than you. So you learn to move quietly, to make yourself useful, to disappear when his temper is high, and reappear when the customers are smiling. You accept the scrutiny because the alternative is worse. You accept the unfairness because fairness is a luxury, and you do not live in a world of luxuries. Every now and then, he offers a word of grudging praise, a nod when the room is especially clean, a muttered, "Good," when you keep the peace during a brawl. You treasure these moments, pitiful as they are, because they are the closest thing to safety you know. For a few hours, you are invisible, free from his notice, allowed to slip back into the rhythm of work, the steady march of chores that fill your days. The owner's eyes are always on you. You feel their weight in every movement, every breath. You learn to live under that weight, to carry it like an extra layer of skin. You do not rebel, you do not run, you do not dream, you survive. And in this place, survival is the highest praise you can hope for. There is a blackboard nailed above the bar where the owner, in an ambitious moment, once wrote, "Lunch break, noon." The chalk has long since faded, worn away by grease, smoke, and the steady march of years. Still, the ghost of those words lingers, as faint and useless as the hope they once carried. You look at it sometimes and almost laugh. Lunch break. Here, such things are myth, like gold in the river, like rain in the desert, like kindness from a stranger. When noon comes, it does not bring rest. It brings more customers, louder voices, heavier boots stomping through the door. The saloon is suddenly alive, the air thick with hunger and impatience. The men want their stew, their bread, their whiskey, their laughter, their portion of you. Lunch break means a different sort of work. Balancing plates and tankards, dodging sticky fingers, avoiding the swinging elbows of men who do not see you as a person at all. The food is not much better than breakfast. There is a pot of stew on the back burner, beans, gray meat of dubious origin, potatoes if the cook got lucky at the market. The smell is not unpleasant, but neither is it inviting. You serve the stew in chipped bowls, careful not to let the customers see how much you spill. There is always too little to go around, and tempers flare if someone thinks his portion is short. May stands watch over the pot with a wooden spoon like a club, daring anyone to argue with her measurements. You do not get a break, not really. If you are lucky, you can steal a bite between tasks, a piece of bread hastily chewed in the alley, a spoonful of stew gulped behind the curtain near the kitchen. You eat quickly, eyes always darting, ears tuned for the sound of your name barked from the bar. There is no time to savor, no time to sit, no time to talk. Hunger is a constant companion, gnawing at your insides, making your hands shake and your temper short. It is a hunger that never truly goes away, even on the rare nights when there are seconds left in the pot. You watch the men eat with a kind of fascination. They shovel food into their mouths, barely tasting it, talking all the while about cattle prices, about claims up in the hills, about women and cards and fights they barely remember. Their laughter is loud, but it does not reach their eyes. They wipe their mouths on their sleeves, belch, slap the table for more. You refill their bowls, bring more bread, clean up after the ones who spill or break things. You never sit down. You never rest. You never eat enough. Some of the girls try to sneak away for a moment, slipping out to the back steps with a crust of bread, hoping for a few minutes of peace. Sometimes they are lucky. More often, the owner's voice finds them, sharp and cold, breaks over, back inside. There is always more to do, always more to be done. The work piles up like dirty dishes in the sink, never shrinking, never finished. There are no proper meals for girls like you. There are no silver forks or clean tablecloths, no polite conversation or pleasant company. You eat standing up, or crouched behind a barrel, or not at all. If you linger too long over your food, May will snap at you to move. If you leave a crumb, the owner will dock your pay. If a customer complains that you took too long to fetch his beer, there will be a lecture later. Words like lazy, ungrateful, replaceable, echoing in your head as you scrub out the last of the stew from a pot that never quite comes clean. Once, a new girl asked if she could eat with the customers. The laughter that followed was sharp and cruel, even from the other girls. You learn quickly not to ask such questions, not to wish for things you cannot have. You learn to take what you can, when you can, and to swallow your pride along with your lunch. There are moments, brief and almost tender, when you and the other girls share what little you have. A corner of bread, an extra slice of carrot, a secret sip from May's flask. These moments are rare and precious and dangerous if caught. You keep them hidden like coins under a floorboard, memories to warm yourself with on cold nights. Lunch, when it comes at all, is a negotiation, a deal struck with hunger and exhaustion. You eat enough to keep moving, to keep smiling, to keep dancing when the music starts. You ignore the aches in your stomach, the rumble you feel when you bend to pick up a tray. You become an expert at pretending you are not hungry, at pushing through, at lasting just a little longer. You dream sometimes of a proper meal: roast chicken, buttered potatoes, sweet bread, milk cold from the well. In these dreams, you are not rushed, not watched, not hurried along by the owner's glare or the cook's growl. You sit at a table with a clean cloth, a plate all your own. You eat until you are full, until you are happy, until the world feels safe and soft. But dreams are not for girls like you. Here, in the real world, lunch is just another part of the job, one more thing to be endured, not enjoyed. You finish your crust of bread, wipe your hands on your skirt, and return to the noise and the heat and the endless, gnawing hunger that is as much a part of your life as the saloon itself. And as the afternoon settles over the town, you steel yourself for the next round, because the day is not even half done, and the promise of rest, of fullness, of satisfaction remains as distant as the words on the blackboard, faded, empty, and forever out of reach. The first notes from the piano never sound fresh. The keys are sticky, the hammers half broken, and every melody limps along as if the instrument is as exhausted as you. Yet as soon as the music starts, the mood of the room sharpens. Men elbow each other, grinning or leering, and the owner glances at the girls, at you, expectantly. "This is the part that makes the money," he says, as if dancing is a privilege and not just another grueling shift disguised as entertainment. You step onto the battered planks of the dance floor, your shoes worn thin, your legs already aching from hours of running drinks and cleaning up after men who see you as nothing but a passing spectacle. The hem of your dress brushes the stains and grooves left by countless nights just like this. The smell of sweat and whiskey rises from the crowd, thick enough to taste. You force yourself to stand tall, shoulders back, chin up, the way you were taught by women who have long since left this place or disappeared into it. Dancing here is not the swirling romance of stories. There are no elegant partners, no gentle hands guiding you across a polished floor. The men are rough, their movements clumsy or too eager. Sometimes they stamp along in time to the music, but just as often they ignore the rhythm, dragging you across the floor, stepping on your toes, pulling you close with breath hot and foul against your cheek. You learn to anticipate their mistakes, to move in ways that keep you safe and upright, to smile even when your feet scream and your ribs ache. For the men, a dance is cheap. A coin tossed on the bar, a few minutes of someone pretending to care if they exist. For you, every dance is work. You keep your eyes on the wall behind their shoulder, counting the beats, measuring each step. You watch the other girls, looking for signs of trouble, Rose frowning as her partner grips her too tightly, Anna struggling to stay upright as a drunken miner lurches off balance. You help when you can, but mostly you are on your own, spinning through a room full of hands, waiting to catch you if you stumble, not to help, but to claim something in return. Each song blurs into the next. Your dress clings damp to your back, sweat trickling down your neck. The laughter from the men grows louder as the whiskey flows, and with every round the dancing gets rougher, the music faster, the floor more dangerous. You cannot stop. The owner watches from the edge, counting the coins, counting the dances, his eyes narrowing if you dare rest too long. When you finally break away for a drink of water, your hands shake and your breath comes in ragged gasps. There is a little glamour in these moments. The men are not lovers or knights. They are tired, lonely, desperate, hungry for warmth, for touch, for escape. You are not a woman to them, but a symbol, a painted doll meant to smile, laugh, twirl, and make them feel less empty. You perform because you must. For every dance, you might earn a coin, or perhaps only a bruise. Sometimes, if a man is especially pleased, he will press a tip into your hand, his fingers lingering just a moment too long. You accept it all with a practiced neutrality, never giving more than you must, always guarding the small part of yourself that is not for sale. The piano player is paid to keep going, even when his fingers cramp or his eyelids droop. Sometimes he slips and hits a sour note. Sometimes he plays too slow or too fast, or not at all. When he falters, the room gets restless, the shouts grow sharper. The owner barks at him to keep playing, and at you to keep dancing. Rest is for after, he says, always after, though after never truly comes. You dance with men who smell of horses and gunpowder, men whose hands are soft with ink and paper, men whose breath betrays a week of sleeping in the open. You dance with men who stare at you with longing, with anger, with something too dark to name. You dance for men who might be kind, but kindness is a luxury you do not trust. You dance for the coins, for the tips, for the chance to pay for your bed and your bread. You dance because not dancing would mean being noticed for the wrong reason. And here, invisibility is often safer than being special. Sometimes, when you spin too quickly or the room grows too warm, your head swims. You close your eyes for half a second and pretend you are somewhere else, under trees, beside a river, in a quiet room with a door you can lock. You pretend because pretending is all you have. Then the music ends, the hands release, and you are back in the saloon, breathless, tired, already bracing yourself for the next song. There are nights when the coins are fewer, when the men are meaner, when the owner's eyes are harder. There are nights when you dance with someone you do not recognize and later find bruises on your wrists, your arms, your hips. There are nights when you cannot remember a single face, when all you can recall is the blur of movement, the ache in your bones, the taste of dust and whiskey on your tongue. Every dance is survival, a negotiation with fate, a balancing act between danger and necessity. You keep moving because stopping is not an option. The music will play until the owner says otherwise, until the customers leave, until you have nothing left to give. Only then, when the piano is silent and the room is empty, can you finally sit and let your body collapse, knowing that tomorrow you will do it all again. Dancing here is not about joy. It is about endurance. It is about living to see another dawn and nothing more. Between dances, when the music sputters out for a moment and the men turn their attention to cards or arguments or the next round of whiskey, you have a brief, ragged interval to yourself. You step behind the bar or duck into a shadowed corner, your chest heaving, sweat chilling against your back. Your arms tremble from holding too many drunken partners upright. Your feet throb with each pulse of your heart. Sometimes you feel as if you have been whittled down to nothing but aching limbs and a face stretched tight with false smiles. In one corner of the saloon, near the door to the back hallway, hangs a mirror. It is cracked, filthy, the glass so old that your reflection comes back to you warped and ghostly. Still, it is the only mirror downstairs, and you find yourself drawn to it between songs, unable to resist the urge to look, even though you already know what you will see. You stare into the glass and find a stranger. The face is yours, but older than it should be, pinched by exhaustion and worry. The circles under your eyes are almost blue in the half light, and your lips are dry and split at the corners, no matter how much berry stain you reapply. Sweat has made your hair cling to your temples, and there are dark stains on your dress that you cannot remember earning. You are not beautiful here, not even pretty. You are something else, something worn out and used up, something that lingers only because there is nowhere else to go. Sometimes another girl appears in the mirror beside you. Anna, maybe, or Rose. Their faces are echoes of your own, tired, drawn, painted into brittle masks. You catch their eye in the glass and share a moment of silent understanding, a flicker of camaraderie that feels more like mourning than solidarity. No one speaks of what the mirror shows. No one says, "You look tired," or "You should rest." There is no room for such luxury here, where survival is measured in coins and the willingness to keep going. You study yourself the way a customer might, searching for the thing that keeps you on your feet, the thing that still draws men's eyes when you step onto the floor. You wonder if it is hope or desperation or just a kind of stubbornness. You notice the way your mouth droops at the corners when you forget to smile, the way your eyes harden when a man shouts too loudly, the way your hands curl into fists when you are not thinking. You notice, too, the places where you are disappearing, the softness erased from your cheeks, the light faded from your eyes, the line of your shoulders drawn tight with fatigue. The mirror gives nothing back but truth, and the truth is that you are tired, hungry, and afraid. The truth is that you have learned to wear your exhaustion like a cloak, to wrap yourself in indifference and let the world glance off your battered shell. The truth is that you have stopped dreaming of escape, and now you dream only of an evening without bruises, a night when the music ends before you fall down. You adjust your dress, smoothing the fabric over your hips, tugging at the sleeves to hide the worst of the stains. You pinch your cheeks for color, dab at your lips, retie the ribbon in your hair. It is not for beauty, not really. It is armor, a way to hold yourself together for a few more hours, a few more dances, a few more coins that might, if you are lucky, buy you an extra loaf of bread at week's end. As you step away from the mirror, you try to leave the stranger behind, but she follows you, her shadow clinging to your heels. You rejoin the other girls, who look as ragged and brittle as you feel. The men do not see this. They see only what they want, only the flicker of a smile, the hint of a curve, the promise of distraction. You let them believe the illusion because the alternative is too dangerous, too costly. You let them believe because you have no choice. Every so often, a customer catches you looking at yourself in the mirror. He might make a joke, something about vanity or beauty, and you will smile as if you find it funny, as if you do not know that you are laughing at yourself, at the joke you have become. You will turn away, take a breath, and step back onto the dance floor, ready to be someone else for a little while longer. You have become an expert at splitting yourself in two, the girl in the mirror and the girl in the saloon. The mirror keeps your secrets, the saloon spends them for you. One smile, one dance, one evening at a time. You wonder how long you can keep it up, how many more faces you can wear before you lose track of the original. There is no answer in the glass, only the same tired eyes, the same cracked lips, the same shadow where hope used to live. You wipe a smear from the mirror with the edge of your sleeve, but the mark lingers, stubborn as memory. The music starts up again, and you move away, leaving your reflection behind to wait for your return. You step into the noise and the heat, the faces and the lights, knowing that you will find yourself back at that mirror soon enough, searching once more for a trace of the girl you used to be. The saloon never really quiets, not even during the slow hours. The walls are thin, the floor carries sound, and voices seep through every crack and knothole. You learn, with time, that almost nothing said in a place like this is meant for your ears, and yet you cannot help but hear. Sometimes you wish you could stop listening altogether. From your post behind the bar, or as you circle the floor with a tray of drinks or another forced smile, you catch fragments of conversations, words that are not for you, words that coil around the pillars of the room like cigarette smoke. Some are harmless, a ranch hand complaining about the price of feed, a peddler listing off goods he cannot sell, a boy describing the wild horses he hopes to catch one day. These you allow to wash over you, softening the edges of your exhaustion. But most of what you hear is darker. In the farthest corner, a pair of men huddle over a battered map, voices low and urgent. You pick out words like claim jumpers and double cross. Their eyes flick up every time someone passes too near. You make sure not to linger, not to let your gaze rest too long on their faces. In this place, curiosity is dangerous. Questions are an invitation to trouble. At another table, you hear the rasp of a knife being sharpened against a boot heel, punctuated by the measured threats of a gambler who claims he was cheated. The man across from him keeps his hands flat on the table, his knuckles white, a bead of sweat running down his jaw. You refill their drinks with a steady hand, not meeting their eyes, and move on before the tension snaps. Sometimes the conversations turn to land and water, to cattle lost in the hills, to barbed wire strung in the night. Disputes that begin with words end with fists, or worse. You know the sound of a chair scraping back just before a brawl. You know when to disappear into the kitchen and let the chaos burn itself out. Later, you help May mop blood from the floorboards, her face grim but unsurprised. Violence is a language everyone here understands. Some words are whispered, barely more than breath. Men lean in close, faces hidden by wide brimmed hats. You hear talk of sheriffs and outlaws, of riders seen on the North Trail, of guns bought with gold that did not belong to the buyer. There are warnings passed from mouth to ear, warnings you do not want to understand. You keep your head down, hands busy, ears closed, but the words worm their way in. You overhear men plan journeys that will never end well. Midnight rides to distant towns, deliveries to strangers, meetings in canyons after dark. You do not need to see the pistols under their coats to know that few things in this country are settled by words alone. When they laugh, it is sharp and hollow, and you know that at least one of them will not see morning. Women's voices, too, drift through the din, mostly the other girls, sharing stories at the edge of exhaustion. Anna mutters about a customer who slipped a hand beneath her skirt and laughed when she protested. Rose talks about her brother, lost in a mining collapse, the words clipped and angry. Sometimes you hear Molly, the youngest, singing under her breath a song from back east that has no place here. These moments are quieter, filled with longing and memory and the faintest trace of hope. You cling to them as you would to a scrap of cloth in a storm. Not all secrets are sinister. Some are simply sad. A father looking for news of a runaway son, a mother's letter read aloud over whiskey, a man confessing his homesickness to a stranger he will never see again. You learn, if you listen closely, that almost everyone here is running from something or to something, and that no one ever really arrives. You also hear the dangerous conversations that swirl around your own existence, the bargains made over girls like you, the casual appraisals of your value, the crude jokes and threats traded like small change. Sometimes men argue over who will dance with whom, who will pay for what, whose turn it is to buy a girl a drink. Sometimes the talk turns uglier, the words slurring into insults, the voices rising in ugly chorus. You grow skilled at fading into the background, at slipping away before words become hands, before laughter becomes violence. Once in a while, you catch the owner's voice, sharp as a whip, bargaining with traders, threatening suppliers, cutting deals that always leave him a little richer and you a little poorer. You understand that in this place, words are currency, as dangerous and valuable as gold dust. You learn to say less, to keep your secrets locked behind your teeth, to listen without being caught listening. Sometimes, late at night, when the room empties out and the lanterns burn low, you hear yourself in the silence, the echo of your own thoughts, the questions you never dare ask. Why am I still here? What would it take to leave? Is anyone listening for your voice the way you listen for theirs? But the music starts again, or a glass shatters, or a man shouts your name for another round, and the moment is gone. You go back to your work, to the ceaseless movement, the careful silence, the endless parade of words not meant for you. In the saloon, you learn to live with what you hear, to carry secrets that are not yours, to survive on scraps of knowledge and silence. Because here, what you overhear is often all the warning you get. As the afternoon stretches thin and the whiskey flows thicker, the mood in the saloon shifts. The men who arrived quiet and careful at dawn are not the same men who stagger at dusk. Their voices grow louder, their stories bolder, their laughter sharper, danger thrumming under every word, every glance, every movement. You know the signs by heart, the slurred joke, the sudden bark of laughter, the slam of a fist on the table as a point is made and remade. A man who can barely hold his drink demands another round, and when you hesitate, just a second too long, his smile curdles into a sneer. Too good for us, sweetheart, he says, and his friends, eager for entertainment, lean in to watch what you will do. You learn to keep your face smooth and blank, your voice even and light, your hands steady as you pour another round. You sidestep the worst of it with practiced grace, dodging a hand that reaches for your waist, ducking a slap meant for your behind, deflecting crude jokes with a tired half laugh. You become water, slipping between their moods, letting their anger and desire crash past you. Most nights you succeed. Most nights you survive without fresh bruises. But not all nights. Some men come to the saloon already angry, the road having worn them thin, or their luck having run dry. These are the dangerous ones, the ones who glare at everyone and everything, who nurse their drinks with knuckles white around the glass, who do not speak except to curse. If they lose at cards, if they spill their beer, if you brush too close with the tray, any small thing can set them off. You sense their mood like a drop in temperature, a heaviness in the air. You warn the other girls with a glance, a tilt of your head, a whispered name. The worst are the groups, 3 or 4 or 5 mated men who feed off each other's recklessness. Egged on by their friends, they grow bolder with every drink, their jokes rougher, their hands quicker. Sometimes a dare is spoken aloud. Bet you can get a kiss from that one. And suddenly you are the prize in a game you never agreed to play. The owner sees it happen, but looks away unless something is broken or a gun is drawn. As long as the money keeps coming, he is content to let the girls fend for themselves. Once, a stranger with a new revolver pulled you onto his lap, arms like iron around your waist. You smiled, you joked, you tried to wriggle free, but he squeezed tighter, pressing his lips against your ear until his breath burned your skin. The other men laughed, banging their glasses in approval. She's a wild one, that girl, someone shouted, and you had no choice but to wait for the moment to pass. When it did, you escaped to the kitchen, hands shaking, bile sour in your throat. No one followed, no one asked if you were all right. Some of the regulars know to back off when you say no, but not all. Some think your job is to take whatever they give, to be a canvas for their boredom, their anger, their fantasies. They do not see the way your hands clench behind your back, or the way you glance toward the door, weighing the odds of making it outside before they can catch you. You know the path to the back alley by heart, the quickest route to the storeroom where the door can be bolted. You have run that route more than once. There are stories that float through the saloon, stories of girls who vanished after closing time, of men who waited in the shadows, of debts settled with violence. You do not know how many are true, but you believe in all of them. You see the scars on Anna's arm, the way Rose flinches at sudden movements, the silent tears Molly sheds after a rough night. There are no heroes here, only survivors. May, the cook, keeps a rolling pin near the stove, and once, when a man staggered too close, she cracked it over his knuckles. He screamed and cursed and threatened, but he never came back. The girls pass this story among themselves like a talisman, as if bravery were contagious. You do not feel brave. You feel lucky, and luck, you know, is just another word for not being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The owner reminds you to smile, to be pleasant, to keep the peace. If you complain, he tells you to toughen up, to learn to handle yourself. If you fight back, he warns you about causing trouble. You understand the rules. You are here to be looked at, laughed at, wanted. You are not here to say no. Every refusal is a risk, every yes is a price. The night deepens, and the air grows thick with sweat, smoke, and menace. A glass shatters, a chair tips over, and a fight breaks out. Fists and curses, and the sharp tang of fear. You retreat to the edge of the room, watching the chaos, waiting for the storm to blow over. When it does, you gather the broken glass, mop the blood, straighten the chairs. Life returns to its usual rhythm. No one apologizes. No one asks if you are hurt. You return to the bar, to the men, to the work. The music plays, the laughter resumes, and you smile as if nothing happened, as if you are made of stone or smoke or something that cannot be broken. But you know better. You know how easy it is to be shattered here, how quickly luck can run out. Tomorrow you will do it again. Tomorrow you will watch for the warning signs, count the drinks, read the room. Tomorrow you will hope to be invisible, to slip through the hands and the anger, to dance and pour and smile until it is safe to breathe again. Because here in the saloon, survival is not a certainty. It is a nightly negotiation, and the house always wins. The official wage is a joke, a number written on a scrap of paper behind the bar, never seen and never enough. What keeps you here is not the promise of a paycheck, but the hope of coins slipped across the counter, the glint of silver in a dirty palm, the copper jangle in the bottom of your apron. Tips are the difference between starving and scraping by, between new stockings and more holes, between a little comfort and none at all. No one ever explains the rules, but you learn them quickly. Tips do not just appear, you have to earn them, hunt for them, wring them from the pockets of men who would sooner toss a bone to a stray dog. It is a competition, every smile a gamble, every joke a test, every dance a transaction. You watch the other girls out of the corner of your eye, measuring their success by the clink of coins or the flash of a sly smile. Early in the evening, the men are tight fisted, saving their money for cards and whiskey. A few drop a nickel for a laugh, a dime for a quick jig, but most act as if even this is a sacrifice. You learn to remember the generous ones, old miners with soft spots, traders who have done well, drifters with gold dust still on their boots. You call them by name, remember their drink, laugh at their tired stories. Sometimes, if the mood is right, they will reward you with a little extra. You thank them as if it matters, because it does. Later, when the whiskey has loosened their grip, the coins flow more easily. A drunken cowboy will boast, tossing silver into your palm, demanding a song, a smile, a secret whispered close to his ear. You give him what he wants, and he barely notices how quickly you pocket the money. A gambler who wins big will wave you over, showering tips like confetti, trying to impress the room. You dance for him, pour his drinks, flatter his ego, all the while watching the pile of coins grow and then disappear again as his luck runs out. But there are others who never tip, men who believe that your service is owed to them, that your smile is part of the decor, that you are as much a fixture as the warped bar or the cracked mirror. They brush off your hand when you reach for their glass, grumble when you bring their order, look through you as if you are not there. Some even snatch tips from the table the moment your back is turned, pocketing what is not theirs with a wink and a sneer. You learn to guard what you earn, to keep your hand tight, your eyes sharper. The owner takes his share, of course. Sometimes it is house rules, a cut of every dance, every drink, every tip. Sometimes it is just the price of keeping your job. He watches the coins with the same cold interest he gives the ledger, always ready to claim what he says is owed. If you protest, he reminds you of the debts you have racked up: meals, rent, broken plates, torn skirts. The numbers never work in your favor. You leave the bar each night lighter than you hoped, heavy with resentment. Some tips are lost before you even get them. A coin slides off the table, vanishes into the cracks of the floor. A drunken man promises you a tip and forgets, laughing as he staggers out the door. Sometimes, in the chaos of a fight or a rush, you drop your night's earnings and watch in horror as they scatter and disappear, snatched up by sticky fingers or kicked under the boards. You want to scream, but you swallow it because the night is not over, because you have no choice but to try again. The girls fight over tips, too. There are sharp words in the back room, jealous glances, whispered accusations. Who took Molly's extra coin? Who distracted the gambler just as Anna was closing the deal? Friendship here is laced with rivalry, kindness diluted by need. Still, on the worst nights, when luck and generosity both run dry, the girls will sometimes pool their tips, dividing the coins so everyone gets a little something. It is not charity, it is survival. The money, when you finally count it, is never quite enough. You spread it out on your bed upstairs, smoothing the notes, stacking the coins, trying to make the numbers work. Rent comes first, then food, then the endless list of things you need: soap, stockings, pins, maybe a new shawl if there is anything left over. There is almost never anything left over. Sometimes you put a coin aside, a secret stash hidden in the hem of your dress or under the loose board by your bed. It grows slowly, a tangible hope, a ticket to something better that you dare not name aloud. There are nights when the tips are good, when the men are feeling flush, when luck is on your side. You allow yourself to imagine a different life, one where you have enough, where you can say no, where you can walk away. But those nights are rare, and reality returns with the dawn: the landlord knocking, the cook counting spoons, the owner holding out his hand. You fight for tips because you must. You smile when you want to scream, dance when you want to sit, listen when you want to turn away. Every coin is hard won, paid for in sweat, in bruises and exhaustion. You tuck the money away, counting it again and again, knowing that tomorrow you will have to fight for it all over again. In the saloon, nothing is given. Everything is earned, and even what you earn is never truly yours. The other girls are always around you, pressed as close as family, but never quite family, at least not in the way that matters. You share everything with them: a narrow bedchamber above the saloon, slices of bread and bad stew, whispers in the dark, bruises that bloom like violets on your arms. You share even your dreams, though never all at once, and only after you are certain no one else is listening. It is impossible to avoid each other in a place this small. In the cramped dressing room, elbows and hips knock together as you rush to change between shifts. You learn to dress and undress in silence, the shuffle of skirts and the snap of garters more honest than most of your words. The air is always thick with steam and nerves, the smell of cheap perfume barely masking sweat and fear. If a quarrel breaks out, you settle it fast. A few sharp words, a scowl, maybe a hissed threat, because there is no time and no space for grudges. In the beginning, you imagined the other girls would be your allies. Sometimes they are. When a customer gets rough, Anna might step in, smiling so sweetly that the man forgets why he was angry. Rose, fierce and quiet, is the first to fetch a cold cloth for a bruise, or to slip you a stolen crust of bread when you are too tired to move. Even May, who is not one of you but might as well be, guards her kitchen fiercely, sharing her meager spoils with those who need them most. You learn each other's strengths: who can calm a crowd, who can bluff a drunk, who can disappear when things turn ugly. But this is a place of hunger, and hunger makes rivals of everyone. Every customer is a contest, every tip a prize. If you catch the eye of a generous miner, Anna will try to intercept him next round. If you charm a gambler into tipping, Rose might slip in with a better joke, a brighter smile. Compliments are currency, favors are traded with an edge. The competition is silent, but sharp, and you feel it in the way the others watch you, in the way they circle and retreat, always calculating, always ready. You measure your friendships in small gestures: a hairpin shared when yours breaks, a ribbon traded for a coin, a warning whispered when the owner is in one of his moods. There are secret alliances, born of necessity, pacts to protect each other from the worst of the men, to cover for one another when someone needs a moment to cry in the alley or catch her breath in the storeroom. These alliances shift with the weeks, breaking and reforming like sand under a river. Sometimes the girl who held your hand last night is the same one who steals your best customer tonight. Molly is the youngest, still soft at the edges, and the others look out for her when they can. They try to teach her how to smile without meaning it, how to say no in a way that does not sound like refusal, how to disappear into a crowd when someone dangerous starts looking for a target. Some nights she listens, some nights she does not. You hope she will learn fast. The West does not forgive innocence. Jealousy is as common as dust. Sometimes it comes out in snide remarks or in the sudden coldness that settles over a room after someone lands a big tip. Sometimes it is quieter, just a long look or a bitten off sentence. You try not to take it personally because you know you have felt it too. You want the same things they do: enough money to be safe, a bed of your own, the smallest scrap of dignity. Secrets are dangerous currency among the girls. You all have them. Stories of why you ended up here, letters from home you do not let anyone see, old scars you never explain. If a secret is discovered, it might be used as a shield or as a weapon. You learn to keep yours close, to trust sparingly, to forgive but never forget. Forgiveness here is a luxury, and trust is as fragile as glass. Despite everything, there are moments that feel almost like sisterhood. Late at night, when the saloon is finally quiet and the customers have gone, you sit together on the back steps, passing a bottle between you, sharing stories of other places, other lives. You talk about what you will do when you leave, where you will go, how you will find each other again. You know, even as you speak, that most of you will never leave, never see each other outside these walls. The world is too wide and too cruel, and the odds are never in your favor. Still, you laugh together, cry together, survive together. When one of you is hurt, the others gather round, patching wounds and sharing what little comfort there is. When one of you manages to save an extra coin, she buys a treat to share: a hard candy, an apple, a bit of real soap. You savor these gifts not just for their rarity, but for the proof that in this place you are not entirely alone. But you are never entirely safe either. Every kindness is tempered by competition, every friendship shadowed by the knowledge that tomorrow you might be fighting over the same customer, the same tip, the same bit of luck. The girls are your lifeline and your rivals, your comfort and your threat. In the saloon, you are all together, but each of you stands alone. When you first arrived, you believed that getting hurt or falling ill would bring care, at least a doctor's visit, a bed to rest in, a soft word from someone older. Now you know better. Here, sickness is as common as dust, and sympathy is rationed even more strictly than soap. There is no real doctor in town. There is a traveling surgeon who passes through once every few months, and he is more interested in pulling teeth and setting broken limbs than worrying over coughs, fevers, or the kind of pain that lingers beneath the skin. He charges in gold, not in gratitude. For girls like you, he is an expensive rumor, more myth than medicine. Most days, May the cook is the closest thing to a healer you get. She has a battered wooden box filled with odds and ends, old bandages, a chipped bottle of whiskey, dried herbs from some forgotten garden, a few rusty needles and coarse thread. When you come to her with a cut or bruise, she cleans it with whiskey, wincing when you wince. If you are lucky, she will let you sip from the bottle afterward to numb the pain and steady your nerves. For headaches, you get a cup of bitter willow bark tea, brewed so strong it leaves your tongue numb for an hour. For coughs and colds, there is a foul-smelling salve that May swears will draw the sickness out through your pores if you rub it on your chest before bed. For fevers, You are told to drink water and sweat it out because the only other option is hoping for a miracle. When illness strikes, you keep working. There are no sick days, no one to take your place. A cough is disguised as laughter. A limp is hidden beneath your skirt. You cannot afford to show weakness. There are always new girls in town, always someone a little healthier, a little stronger, a little more desperate. The owner's patience for sick girls is thinner than the broth you get on your worst days. He tells you to toughen up, to wash your face, to remember that customers do not pay to see sad stories. If you are unlucky enough to fall seriously ill, the girls do what they can. They share what little medicine they have, passing around old remedies and advice with the same seriousness as gamblers trading secrets. Anna makes a poultice from boiled potatoes and onions. Rose remembers a trick with vinegar and brown paper that her grandmother swore by. Sometimes the remedies work. More often they do not, and you lie awake at night, shivering and sweating, counting the hours until morning. Infections are the true terror. A small cut on your hand can swell and fester in days, turning red and hot and filling the air with a sickly smell. If maize, whiskey, and herbs do not work, there is nothing for it but to pray or to find the traveling surgeon when he is next in town. More than one girl has lost the use of a finger, or worse, after a simple scrape turned ugly. The scars are badges of survival, but they are also warnings. When one of the girls gets the fever, the real, burning kind, with chills and delirium, you gather around her bed in the stuffy upstairs room, trading off shifts to wipe her brow and spoon water between her lips. You watch as the illness takes its course, hoping she will wake up and not slip away in the dark. Sometimes she recovers, sometimes she does not. The saloon owner will have her things packed up and her bed given to someone else before the sheets are even cold. Other ailments are less visible, but just as real. Sore feet, aching backs, joints that crack and swell from too many hours on the hard floor. The older girls carry their pain quietly, stoic and grim. You see how they favor one side as they dance, how they grimace as they crouch to clean a spill. There is no rest, no cure, no future here for bodies that cannot work. And then there are the injuries that come from customers. A twisted wrist when a dance turns rough, a black eye from a drunken lurch, a broken tooth from a night that went wrong. You help each other patch up, share cold compresses and whispered curses, but you never speak of it to the owner. Complaints are unwelcome, and there are no apologies in the saloon, only consequences, only debts. Sometimes, in the dead of night, you wonder how many years this life will take from you. You feel the toll in every step, every breath, every moment spent wishing for relief that never comes. You envy the stray dogs that limp through the alley, free to lick their wounds in the sun. You stop believing in healing. You believe only in endurance, the stubbornness to keep moving, to keep serving, to keep smiling even as your body fails you. You count yourself lucky if you wake up with enough strength to climb out of bed, to tie your shoes, to face another day. In this place, medicine is not a promise. It is a gamble, a hope, a story the girls tell each other to make the night seem less long. You do not expect to be saved, you expect only to survive. Night falls slowly, almost reluctantly, as if even the sun is hesitant to abandon you here. The light fades from the windows, turning the dust in the air to shadows. The saloon grows louder as evening settles in, voices sharpening and laughter rising like the howl of some wild animal. Out on the street, lamps flicker to life, but their glow is pale and feeble, a reminder that darkness is never far away in this part of the world. When the last song finally ends and the final glass is cleared, the customers stagger out into the night, leaving behind their coins, their curses, and the echoes of trouble not quite finished. You help sweep the floor one last time, shoulders aching, feet numb inside your battered shoes. The girls move quietly now, speaking in whispers, if they speak at all, gathering their things with practiced haste. Every sound seems amplified, the scrape of a chair, the clink of a bottle, the sudden slam of the saloon door behind the last departing drunk. You do not linger. You know better than to be caught alone downstairs after closing. The owner checks the till and mutters over the books, his presence no longer protection, but a final obstacle between you and the dubious safety of your room. Sometimes he demands a word before you go, a reminder to work harder tomorrow, a veiled threat disguised as advice. You nod, say what you must, and slip away the moment you are dismissed. The stairs creak under your weight as you climb to the rooms above, each step a small prayer that tonight will be quiet, that tonight nothing will go wrong. The hallway is dark and narrow, lit by a single lantern that throws crooked shadows against the peeling wallpaper. The doors are thin, the lock's a joke. Anyone with a mind to break in could do so with little more than a heavy hand. You know this. Everyone knows this. It is one of the reasons you sleep so lightly, every noise snapping you awake, heart racing. You push your trunk against the door each night, a small, useless barricade. Some girls wedge a chair beneath the handle, others string bells or tin cups as alarms. It is not enough, but it is something. The older girls teach the younger ones how to hide a knife beneath the pillow, how to listen for the footsteps of strangers, how to make themselves small and silent if someone tries the handle in the dark. Outside, the sounds of the town drift up, dogs barking, boots on gravel, the sudden, unmistakable crack of a pistol fired in anger or celebration. You do not flinch, you are used to it. You learned quickly that fear is a luxury, that panic gets you nowhere. You breathe slowly, counting to 10, waiting for the silence to return. If the gunshots are distant, you turn over and try to sleep. If they are close, you wait, breath held, until you hear voices laughing or cursing, until the world resumes its broken rhythm. Some nights, men linger outside the saloon, voices low and threatening, their intentions as clear as the moon. You hear them through the window, discussing debts unpaid, women wronged, scores to settle. You and the other girls stay quiet, praying they move on, praying the night is too cold, praying they are too drunk or too tired to try your door. You know the stories. The girl who disappeared after a man came calling and never returned. The one who was found in the alley with her pockets turned inside out. The one who simply never woke up. The saloon owner always has an explanation. She ran off. She found better work. She was never really here at all. You do not believe him, but you do not argue. Silence is safer. Your dreams are not safe either. Night brings nightmares, choking hands, footsteps in the dark, voices that do not belong to anyone you know. Sometimes you wake with a start, sweat soaking your shift, the echoes of screams still ringing in your ears. You stare at the ceiling, heart pounding, listening to the breathing of the girl in the next bed. If she is awake too, you do not speak. There is nothing to say. In the morning, you will both pretend you slept well. On the worst nights, sleep does not come at all. You sit at the window, watching the shadows crawl across the street, waiting for dawn like a prisoner waits for parole. You think of home, of safer places, of a time when darkness meant rest and not danger. These thoughts make you ache in ways that bruises do not. You wonder if you will ever feel safe again, if you ever really were. There is a ritual to surviving the nights. You check the lock twice, sometimes 3 times. You tuck your money into a hidden pocket, your few valuables wrapped in a rag beneath your pillow. You say a silent prayer to God, to luck, to the memory of your mother, and you promise yourself you will be careful, you will be brave, you will not make the mistake that brings disaster. In this town, the night is a living thing, and you are never truly out of its reach. Every shadow holds a threat, every footstep is a warning, every hour after midnight a test. You count the minutes, the heartbeats, the breaths, until light returns. Only then do you allow yourself to hope that you have survived another round, that for one more day you have slipped through the dangers waiting just outside your thin wooden door. When you finally tumble into bed, if it can be called a bed, this lumpy mattress atop a frame that wobbles with every shift, the day's fatigue crashes over you like a wave. You pull the thin blanket to your chin, curl onto your side, and try to find a position where the springs will not dig into your ribs. Outside, the last echoes of drunken laughter fade. The stray dogs resume their nocturnal patrol. Somewhere in the saloon below, someone coughs, a deep, rattling sound that reminds you of how easily the body betrays itself out here. You close your eyes, but sleep does not come easily. Every muscle in your body aches, every joint feels stiff, and the day's bruises, invisible under your dress, throb with a slow, stubborn persistence. You shift, seeking comfort that does not exist. The sounds of the night press in, the groan of timbers settling, the wind rattling the loose shutters, the faint scrape of rats in the walls. Each noise is a tiny alarm dragging you to the edge of consciousness. Sometimes you try to count your breaths to steady your heart and silence your mind, but your thoughts refuse to be tamed. They chase each other in circles. Did you remember to hide your coins? Did you make the owner angry? Did you say something careless to one of the girls? Will tomorrow be worse or only more of the same? Anxiety is a relentless companion, sharing your pillow, nipping at your heels in the dark. On the rare nights when your eyes finally close and you drift down into sleep, it is rarely peaceful. Your dreams are never safe. The images that rise from your mind are stitched from the scraps of your daily fears. Sometimes you find yourself back on the dance floor, endlessly spinning while faceless men laugh and pull at your arms. Sometimes you are running through the alley out back, feet sinking in mud, shadows lunging from every doorway. More than once, you have woken gasping from a dream of fire, flames devouring the saloon, your hands too weak to open a window, smoke so thick it becomes a wall. If you are lucky, you wake before the nightmares reach their end. If not, you jerk upright in the dark, heart pounding, mouth dry, sweat cooling on your forehead. You press a hand to your chest and listen, waiting for the world to come back into focus. Only the faint breathing of another girl in the next bed reminds you that you are not completely alone, though the comfort is small and fleeting. There are other nights when you do not sleep at all. Some pain keeps you awake, a sore foot, a pulled muscle, a sick headache that throbs behind your eyes. On those nights, you count the cracks in the ceiling, trace patterns in the darkness, watch as the line of dawn slowly creeps through the dirty glass. You make bargains with yourself. If you can rest for just an hour, just half an hour, you will have the strength to make it through the day. Usually, it is not enough. The worst is when the fear is what keeps you awake. Every story you have heard, every warning passed in hushed voices, echoes in your mind. What if someone tries your door tonight? What if the angry man from earlier comes back? What if the owner decides to check on the girls, as he sometimes does, with a heavy step and a key that fits every lock? You lie perfectly still, listening for footsteps in the hall, for the jingle of spurs, for the creak of a board that is not your own. Even if nothing happens, the fear is real enough to leave you exhausted. When the morning finally comes, it is never with relief, only resignation. The light slips through the grimy window, pale and watery, casting a gray haze over the clutter of your room. You blink against the brightness, drag yourself upright, and take inventory. Every muscle, every bruise, every ache. Your head is heavy, your mouth is dry, and your limbs feel weighted as if you have spent the night swimming through tar. You move quietly so as not to wake the others, washing your face with cold water from a chipped jug. The mirror gives you back a stranger's face, eyes puffy, skin sallow, mouth turned down at the corners. You do not bother with much more than a cursory attempt to look better. You have learned that in this place, beauty is both a weapon and a liability. You settle for being invisible. The others wake one by one, moving through the morning like ghosts, wordless and careful. If anyone slept well, they do not say so. Most look as tired as you feel, faces tight, shoulders slumped, voices hoarse from a night spent tossing and turning. The routine of the morning is a kind of blessing. The tasks are familiar, mindless, a way to force yourself forward. Sleep here is never gentle, never enough. It is a kind of debt, piling higher with every night, never to be repaid. Some of the girls try to nap during the day, stealing moments behind the bar or in the corner of the storeroom, but rest is rare and always interrupted. You carry your exhaustion like another layer of clothing, another bruise beneath your dress. And so, when you look at the world in the light of day, you do it through the fog of 1,000 broken nights. You stumble out of your room, shoulders hunched, hands trembling, mind already counting the hours until you can lie down again. Yet you know tomorrow will be no different, that sleep will come reluctantly, and when it does, it will be no gift. Here, rest is a stranger, and you survive in spite of it, not because of it. Even here, where the days grind you down and the nights chip away at what is left, there are still moments when your mind slips away from the present, searching for something softer, something that might almost be called hope. You do not speak of these dreams. You do not share them with the other girls. To do so would be to invite laughter, or worse, pity. Still, sometimes, in the thin hours just before dawn, when your body aches and your mind floats in that half place between sleep and waking, the dreams find you. They come unbidden, painting pictures of a life far from this saloon, far from the endless cycle of work and weariness. You see yourself in a small house at the edge of a quiet town where the windows are clean and the air smells of something other than whiskey and sweat. There are curtains, real curtains, not rags tacked up to block the light. There is a table set for breakfast with fresh bread, a pot of coffee, maybe even a plate of eggs. You pour yourself a cup and sit in the sunlight, your hands unmarked by work, your face soft and unlined. In this dream, nobody shouts your name unless it is with kindness. Or maybe you run a shop, selling ribbons and combs and bolts of bright cloth. Customers greet you by name and pay with coins that are yours to keep, not to hand over to some angry man at the end of every shift. The bell above your door rings, and you answer it with a smile that is not forced. Sometimes a child tugs at your skirt, and you kneel to help her pick at a button from the jar. Your dress is neat, and your hair is pinned up, and you do not flinch at sudden noises. Other times, the dream is simpler. You are just walking along a river, perhaps, or through a grove of trees, alone and unhurried, the sun warm on your shoulders. No one calls after you, no one touches you without your leave. You move through the world unobserved, free to sit by the water, to sing if you like, to let your thoughts roam as far as they please. Sometimes your mind wanders back home to a place that may or may not have ever existed. You remember a mother's hand, a father's laugh, a bed that was truly your own. These memories blur at the edges, colored by longing more than truth, but you hold on to them anyway. They are the first stories you ever told yourself that somewhere life is easier, gentler, possible. During your rare moments of rest, you imagine escape. You count your hidden coins and wonder how far they might take you. East, perhaps, to the cities where work is cleaner, where a girl might earn a living in a laundry or a bakery. Or farther west, to the coast, where the air is said to taste of salt and the waves drown out even the worst of memories. You think about what you would pack if you left tonight: the letter from home, the blue ribbon, the hairpin Anna gave you, the scrap of lace from a dress long lost. You wonder who you would miss and who would miss you. But even in dreams, reality intrudes. You remember the landlord, the debts, the owner's hand on your shoulder. You remember the sharp edge of hunger, the ache in your feet, the way fear coils in your belly at night. You remember how many girls have tried to leave, only to come back a week later, penniless, thinner, eyes even harder than before. You remember that luck runs out quicker than whiskey, and second chances are rare as rain. Some nights, you let yourself believe that things might change. You imagine the railroad coming through, bringing new faces and fortunes, turning this dusty town into something better. You tell yourself you will be ready, that you will save enough, that you will take your chance, that you will not be here forever. These promises are small comforts, but they are yours. In the morning, you wake to the same cramped room, the same bruises, the same endless chores. The dream slips away, replaced by the weight of reality. But for a moment, just a moment, you remember what it felt like to hope. You carry that memory with you, hidden beneath your apron, behind your eyes, in the set of your jaw as you greet the first customer of the day. The girls sometimes ask, in their own guarded way, what you would do if you could leave. You laugh and make a joke, start a circus, marry a rich man, go to Paris. The laughter is thin, but it is enough to fill the silence. No one admits to wanting more, but you know better. You see the longing in Anna's careful plans, in Rose's stolen glances at the horizon, in Molly's stubborn questions about the world outside. You are all dreamers here, even if you pretend otherwise. Dreams in this place are both a refuge and a risk. They are the softest part of you, and therefore the easiest to bruise. But they are also the thing that keeps you moving, step by step, day by day, through a life that would swallow you whole if it could. Dreams are the thread you cling to, the secret you do not dare name, the hope that tomorrow might be different, even if you know it will not. And so you dream, quietly, stubbornly, because to stop would be to surrender, and surrender is not a luxury you can afford. You do not begin life thinking of yourself as someone who bargains away dignity for a handful of coins, or who endures slights and threats with a smile. But the West is a relentless teacher, and survival is a lesson written in compromise. It is not a single moment or decision, but an endless procession of small surrenders, each one easier to make the next time around. The rules are simple, but they are never fair. There are things you must tolerate if you wish to keep your place. A hand resting too long on your hip, a cruel joke spoken loud enough for the room to hear, a customer's anger when you cannot grant every request. You smile, you bow your head, you learn to make yourself smaller. The other girls do the same. Sometimes the indignities blur together until you almost forget they were not always part of you. Some compromises are obvious. You agree to work longer hours when the owner demands it, even when your legs tremble with fatigue. You pretend not to hear the men talking about you as if you are furniture, not flesh and blood. You clean up their messes and swallow their insults. You let them believe that their presence is a gift, their tips a blessing, their attention something you should crave. There is no satisfaction in these rituals, only necessity. Others are subtler, quieter, choices made in the dark, in the privacy of your own mind. You look away when the owner pockets your tip or charges you twice for a torn dress. You do not speak up when one girl is favored over another, or when a customer crosses a line that should never be crossed. You hide your anger, your fear, your true opinions. The longer you stay, the easier it becomes to say, "It is not so bad," to tell yourself you are only doing what is needed. Sometimes you are forced into bargains with the other girls, trading secrets or small kindnesses for a chance at an easier night. You agree to cover for Rose when she cannot bear another dance. You share your last crust of bread with Molly when she is too sick to work. In return, you ask them to lie for you when the owner comes looking for someone to blame. These pacts are fragile but necessary. Trust built not on affection, but on mutual desperation. Money itself is a constant negotiation. The coins you save for yourself are hidden carefully because you know they could be taken at any moment. Sometimes, when rent is due and your tips are light, you borrow from May or from Anna, promising to repay with your next shift's earnings. You accept that you will never be free of debt here, never truly your own person, while the ledger in the owner's desk grows fatter with each passing week. You compromise your body too, though you tell yourself you have not. You let a customer squeeze your hand or steal a kiss for a few extra coins. You laugh at jokes that make your skin crawl. On the worst nights, you let someone walk you upstairs, telling yourself you still have a choice, that tomorrow will be different, that everyone else does it too. The line between endurance and surrender is thin, and most days you walk it with your eyes shut. Every decision you make here is measured against the threat of what would happen if you refused. You have seen girls who pushed back too hard, who said no one too many times. They lost their jobs, their places to sleep, their small circle of protection. Some left town with nothing but the clothes on their back. Some simply disappeared. You understand, deep down, that there are things far worse than humiliation. Hunger is one, homelessness is another. And so you learn to accept what you cannot change. You tell yourself stories to make it easier, that you are clever, that you are strong, that you can bear anything for a little while longer. You become an expert at convincing yourself that it is only temporary, that one day you will escape, that the price you pay now will buy you freedom later. You make yourself believe it because the alternative is despair. Not all the compromises are outwardly grim. Some are just the slow erosion of your boundaries, the gradual acceptance that dreams cost more than you can afford. You forget what it felt like to say never and replace it with maybe, then just this once, and finally as often as needed. What was once shocking becomes routine. What was once intolerable becomes the only way to live. Yet, even as you trade away piece after piece of yourself, you hold on to a few small things: a letter from home, a secret stash of coins, the ability to close your eyes and imagine somewhere else. You guard these fragments fiercely. They are the proof that you are not completely lost, not yet. In the end, you realize that survival on the frontier is not about heroism or glory. It is about making do, about choosing the lesser evil, about living with choices you would never have made anywhere else. The world here does not reward the stubborn or the proud. It rewards the adaptable, the ones who bend, who bargain, who let the river of compromise carry them through another day, another night. And as you close your eyes and drift toward what passes for sleep, you remind yourself that you did what you had to do. That here is the only comfort you are allowed. If you learn one lesson in the saloon, it is this: in the end, you can only count on yourself. You may laugh and share bread with the other girls. You may trade secrets and warnings, but everyone here is fighting her own quiet battle. And when trouble truly comes, you are the only person who will pick you up from the dust. No lawman cares for girls in red skirts. No kindly stranger arrives to save you at closing time. The West is a place for the resourceful and the ruthless. Anyone waiting for help is waiting to be disappointed. You begin to understand this in small ways at first. When you're short on rent, no one offers a handout, only a loan, and always at a price. When you fall sick, the girls may fetch you water or whisper a comfort, but the work goes on without you. If you stay in bed too long, your place will be gone before your fever breaks. Even May, with all her rough kindness, has her limits. You have to look out for yourself, she tells you, pressing a crust of bread into your hand one morning. No one else will, not really. Her words are not cruel, only true. The owner is not your enemy, exactly, but he is never your friend. His ledger keeps score, but it is only ever in his favor. If you do not work, you do not eat. If you cross him, you are gone. His sympathy is a rumor, his fairness a joke told behind cupped hands. You learn to move quietly, to do what is needed, to avoid notice when possible, and to deliver more than expected when not. There is no reward for loyalty, only survival. You develop small strategies, invisible to others. You keep your tips hidden in 3 places, never all in one purse or pocket. You memorize the faces of new men in town, cataloging them for threats and opportunities alike. You teach yourself to sew, patching your own dress rather than paying someone else, and to mend your shoes until they nearly fall apart. You listen to rumors, watching for a chance to bargain a better deal or to leave if ever such a chance comes. The girls, your comrades in misery, are both help and hazard. When one has luck, she might share a coin or a secret. When luck turns, she is just as likely to steal yours. You do not blame them. You do not trust them either. Chalk it here is a luxury you cannot afford. If you are clever, you give just enough to belong, but you never give away what truly matters: your escape fund, your hidden dreams, your last bit of strength. Even your body becomes something to guard. You become adept at slipping from dangerous arms, at laughing off insults, at reading the signs of a man on the verge of violence. When words fail, you rely on your legs, your wits, and, if need be, the dull knife tucked in under your pillow. You have seen what happens to girls who believe someone else will step in to save them. You have learned that mercy is rare and that you are responsible for the small spark that keeps you alive. Some days, this knowledge makes you hard. You catch your reflection and see someone you never intended to become: a face set in lines of suspicion, eyes that look for betrayal first, a mouth that smiles on command and never quite means it. You count every penny, weigh every word, measure each risk as if your life depends on it, because it does. On the worst days, you wonder if this is all there is: a constant vigilance, a stubborn refusal to be broken, a tight grip on a future that might never come. And yet, you do not let go. That, more than anything, is hope on the frontier, not some grand vision of rescue or redemption, but a daily decision not to give up, not to give in. You tell yourself that you will leave someday. You practice your escape in your mind, planning every detail: what you will take, where you will go, how you will disappear before anyone notices. You have seen others try and fail, but you believe stubbornly that you will succeed, not because of luck or charity or the kindness of strangers, but because you have learned to rely on nothing but your own resolve. You keep a secret tally of your victories, however small: a tip saved from the owner's eye, a bruise hidden from a customer, a night survived without new scars. These are the things that matter: the proof that you are still here, still yourself, still holding on. Each day you rise, you are a little tougher, a little wiser, a little more determined to see another morning. There are moments, of course, when despair claws at your resolve, when you see a new girl arrive, all soft hope and wide eyes, and you remember what it was like before you understood how alone you would be. You want to warn her, but you know she will not listen. She must learn, as you did, that hope placed in anyone but herself is the quickest way to disappointment. And so you armor yourself in solitude, in cunning, in patience. You do not ask for help. You do not expect miracles. You trust only the things you can hold in your hands and hide in your heart. The world outside might never change. The owner will always be greedy. The work will always be hard. The night will always be dangerous, but you will survive it, alone, perhaps, but alive. Morning comes, as it always does, not with hope or relief, but with the dull inevitability of repetition. The sky is colorless, the town silent, but for the far off caw of a crow and the whisper of wind against sun bleached boards. You wake because there is no other choice. The bed beneath you, if anything, feels harder than it did the night before. Your bones protest as you rise, every joint sending its own complaint, another account to settle, another cost of staying alive. You go through the motions, water from the chipped jug, icy and sharp against your skin. You wipe the sleep from your eyes, catching a glimpse of yourself in the mirror. Same drawn cheeks, same tired eyes, same tight mouth that forgot how to smile for real. You smooth your hair, pin it up, tug your dress over the bruises and scrapes that have become as familiar as freckles. Another day begins, and you wear it like a yoke. Downstairs, the saloon is the picture of defeat, as it is every morning. The air smells of stale sweat, spilled beer, and cold ashes. Chairs lie on their sides, tables sticky and littered with the detritus of last night's excesses, cards, broken glass, a forgotten hat. The other girls gather in silence, each one emerging from her own unrestful sleep, eyes ringed, movements stiff and unenthusiastic. No one greets the day with enthusiasm. At best, there is grim acceptance. Breakfast is the same as ever, crusts of bread, yesterday's beans, bitter coffee with grounds you feel in your teeth. You eat quickly, hardly tasting anything, aware only that you need fuel to survive the shift ahead. Conversation is sparse, and what words are spoken are practical. Whose turn to clean, who owes whom, which customer is not to be trusted. There is no time for idle chatter, no room for complaints that will go unheeded. The owner arrives, scowling at the state of the room, at the girls, at the world. He gives instructions with all the warmth of a winter storm, barking orders and threats, reminding you that there are always others willing to do your job if you grow tired or troublesome. You nod, keep your eyes down, promise yourself you will not give him a reason to notice you today. Cleaning begins. The same stains, the same broken glass, the same endless war against a dirt that seems to multiply behind your back. The work is as mindless as it is exhausting, every movement etched into your muscles by months of repetition. You find yourself reciting the tasks in your head. Sweep, mop, wipe, set the chairs, polish the glasses. It is a dance of drudgery, and you have learned all the steps. Soon, the first customers arrive, early and sour, their faces as familiar as the marks on the floorboards. You serve drinks, count coins, dodge hands, muster up a smile when you must. The day passes in a blur of footsteps, shouts, laughter that never reaches the eyes. Each demand is an echo of yesterday's, each trouble a replay of last week's. Time moves strangely here, days bleeding into each other until you almost forget when one ends and another begins. You dance when the piano starts, as you did before. You wipe sweat from your brow, force your feet to move, your face to hold a pleasant shape. The customers watch, judge, cheer, jeer, never seeing you at all, only what they want to see, a distraction, a decoration, a way to fill the emptiness inside themselves. Every now and then, someone is kind, but kindness is fleeting, quickly swallowed by the churn of want and waste. Breaks are rare and always interrupted. A stolen minute behind the bar, a hurried bite of bread, a moment's rest before the owner's bark calls you back. The girls work alongside you, sometimes friends, sometimes rivals, always co survivors. You pass each other in the hallway, in the kitchen, in the dark. A nod here, a half smile there, the unspoken understanding that all you can do is endure. Evening comes, and the saloon grows loud again. Drunk men, angry men, desperate men. Fights break out, glasses shatter, tempers flare. You move carefully, expertly, never quite at ease, but never showing fear. When the music ends and the room empties, you clean up once more, sweep the floor, gather the coins, retreat to your room, and begin the long process of trying to sleep. The circle closes. There is no romance here, no final reward, no escape hatch in the floor. The promise of change is as thin as the soup May serves for dinner. Tomorrow will be the same as today, and the day after, and the day after that. You count your coins, tuck your hope deep inside, and tell yourself you will leave. Someday, somehow, maybe, but until then, you will do what you have always done, survive, and wake to another day in the same circle of hell, because that is life for a saloon dancer on the wild frontier. Not adventure, not legend, not even much of a story, just endless repetition, endless work, endless nights of fear, and mornings of exhaustion. You learn to find your victories in small things: a coin saved, a bruise faded, a night without trouble. You learn, most of all, to endure. And as dawn creeps over the horizon, pale and unimpressed, you rise again, shoulders set, ready to begin the whole miserable dance once more.